Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling, and this is probably the earliest I have done a TNA Impact review in a long time, because it's Thursday night. It is 10 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, and I am in my dining room, so if the audio sounds a little bit off, forgive me. I lost my studio, I lost my office space to a freeloading little baby. All he does is sleep, eat, poop. He actually laughs and makes us happy too. But we don't need to dwell on that part. He took my office, so me and him have heat now. So he, whenever we found out he was coming, we decided to transition the office into a nursery, but I was still going to be using the office. And we only have this 3-bedroom house, so there's no real area for me to do my podcasting. So I'm still going to do the full video on Sunday nights, and there will be, some Brace for Impacts where I'm doing video, but right now it looks like I'm probably going to be doing audio for the foreseeable future when it comes to Brace for Impacts, because I typically was doing them at like 6 a.m. on Saturday, and the little guy is probably going to be sleeping at that time, so we're going to have to just figure it out. So here I am on Thursday night. Last week I was doing Friday night. I wanted to do it tonight because I am up. I had some late night caffeine, party animal. And Sacrifice is tomorrow. So instead of doing a 2-for-1, I'm going to go ahead and knock out the Impact reaction show right now. Do another little preview of Sacrifice. And on Tuesday night, I was planning on doing my Raw recap and my other news and stuff like that, just whatever's going around pro wrestling. Hold on, swig of water for the working man. Just one sec. I had planned on doing that show, but we decided to transition the baby to the office, to the nursery on Tuesday night. So I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And so here I am in a little makeshift studio in the dining room. If you occasionally hear the baby monitor go off, that's because it's right next to me. I'm on the night shift tonight. So if he wakes up, I'll have to hit the pause. I don't have to go rock his little butt to sleep, and then I'll come try to finish this audio. But yeah, no video on this deal. I may be able to clip some of it for YouTube, but all they'll get is a thumbnail with Alexander Hammerstone on the thumb. Yeah, not a ton of TNA news to talk about tonight. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a little quick preview of Sacrifice, which is tomorrow night, and it looks like as of right now it is sold out. At least when you go onto the Ticketmaster site or whichever site it is, wherever you buy the tickets, I don't remember which website, but when you go there, it says nothing available. Now TNA is not announced a sellout, and I think it's just because like everybody's asleep. So they'll either announce a sellout in the morning or they'll open up more seats. Because I don't think that they were running a full stadium. So, but it's going to look good. Probably in and around 4,000 for both nights. So that's going to be tremendous business for TNA. That's big time for those guys. So let's go ahead and run down the card here. So we got TNA Sacrifice from El Paso, Texas. I don't know that this is going to be the main event match or not, but this is what it's got it listed on Fightful. So here we go. We got TNA X Division Championship match, Moose versus Jeff Hardy, and I think that Moose is going to retain there. Jeff Hardy is still the tag team champion. The Hardy Boys successfully defended against Fraxium this week, so I think Moose is going to retain, and those will very likely be the match of the night. For whatever it is, Jeff Hardy always shows up in ladder matches, and as we already know about Moose, I'm a Moose truther, I have been for a long time. Moose will show up in the big matches, just like he did at NXT Roadblock this week, which I thought, for my money, that was match of the week. on any show. It was Moose versus Obafemi. I don't care what other little guys are doing, slapping their asses and kicking out of shit. But from Monday through Thursday so far, Moose versus Obafemi is my match of the week. But I think it should be a great match. It might as well close the show. I do think that they'll have the cage match closing it, but this is a big match. We also got TNA Knockouts Championship, Masa Slamovich versus Cora Jade. Cora Jade put out a tweet where it was a Marshawn Lynch tweet where Marshawn Lynch was saying, I'm only here so I don't get fined. So it seems like she's really excited about working in TNA, so she can go fuck herself. So I don't know if that was TNA related or not, but from the sounds of it, that's what it is. She's not excited to be there. But Masha Slamovich should just run right through her. I know they're gonna have a competitive match because it's a WWE talent, but they really shouldn't because Cora Jade stinks, and she reinforced my opinion of how bad she is tonight during Impact. So my little guy's wiggling around. We'll see how long. We'll see. This is gonna be intense. I might have some more time here. All right. If I have to pause it and go away, I'll come back and finish. Okay. Next up, we got the Knockouts World Tag Team Championship. Man, handicap match. This sucks. This is terrible. Like, whoever booked the match and is booking this feud, legit. Like, I'm not even being facetious. Should lose their job. It's such bad television. It's embarrassing. Like, I'm watching this, I'm just like, who is this for? This can't be for anybody that has any dignity. I just don't like. If you like it, I guess like it. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but like, it is such bad TV. It's not funny. It's not cute. And I think they had a good match the other week. They should just end the feud on that. Get some more tag teams. But that's too much to ask for them to fill out their roster. But is what it is. Next up, we got I don't care who wins. I think the Elegance girls are gonna win just because it's probably their turn. That's just what it seems like to me. Although I do think Ash by Elegance is gonna miss some time going to Australia soon, so maybe not. Actually, you know what? Because of that, I think I'll stay with Spitfire. And then Ash by Elegance is gonna be gone for a little bit, and so they'll have to find a new tag team. All right, Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley, Tyson DuPont, and Tyreek Igwe. I feel like this Rascals and Wesley feud has been going on a year. And it took a break for a little bit because the partnership between NXT and TNA had slowed down like towards the end of the year last year. And then they restarted it up in January. And they decided to go and reignite the feud, even though we had already reached our conclusion. So they decided for whatever reason to kick it back up a notch. Maybe because the Rascals just weren't doing anything and they weren't going to put the belts on them. So here we go. This is what we got. I think Rascals and Ace Austin are winning though. But it should be a good match. DuPont and Igwe are pretty green, but I still think it should be good. Tessa Blanchard versus Lei Ying Lee. Obviously, Tessa's going to win that one. Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali, the only heated feud in the entire company, and I thought they did a good job tonight. Getting some of that back. They did a little bit of the piss silliness last week. I thought it was pretty stupid, but I think they turned it back around with what they did tonight. And I'll get into that during the recap portion. We got a street fight: Mance Warner versus Sami Callihan. I think this is going to be a sneaky good match. These guys know how to do their brawls. Sami Callihan, that's his specialty. Obviously, Mance Warner, that's what he does best as well. Should be a good match. I'm going to go with Mance on this deal. He's the new guy coming in. I don't think he should be losing at this point. We need to build a guy. We need a new guy. And I think that they started him with Sami Callihan so that way he can get over immediately. And Sammy's the guy to do that. He does a good job with these. So Mance Warner is definitely taking that one. It'd be foolish for Mance not to win. I'll just say that. I dig this feud. It is a heated feud. The only problem I have with it is I don't know why they're feuding. I don't know why it started. Like, I know why Mustafa Ali targeted Mike Santana, because he sees him like up on the food chain and he sees that he is in the way of him getting the world title shot. And so he's manipulating him like a sneaky congressman would do in order to get a leg up on him. I dig the whole thing with Ali and Santana. Man, Warner and Sam McCallahan, they haven't really told us why they're feuding, right? So I just don't quite get it. But that doesn't mean I don't dig it, but it's like several notches below what Santana and Ali are doing. And then next we got Steve Maclin and Frankie Kazarian. They bumped into each other at one point, and so now they're going to have a match. So there you go. And then, of course, you got the big cage match. Joe Hendry, Matt Hardy, Elijah, Nick Nemeth, and Leon Slater versus The System. JDC, Myers, Edwards, and the Colons. Primo and Epico, or Eddie and Orlando, whatever you want to call them. This is Lethal Lockdown rules, but they're not calling it a Lethal Lockdown. And it's because they don't have a roof. And they don't have the weapons. I think they bought a cage, but they didn't buy the top of the cage. I think that's like the next. Like they got to wait till like the next fiscal year in order for them to get the money for the cage, for the top of the cage. So, but I don't know why Hendry's still messing with the system, to be honest with you. I think this is a cage match for the sake of a cage match. I think Hendry's team wins, and one of the baby faces turns on him, either Elijah or Nemeth. So there you go. And then just announced was First Class will take on Laredo Kid and Octagon Jr. I don't know anything about Octagon Jr., but I did make a cool joke, and I want to tell that joke here again, that TNA missed out on being able to get Pentagon, but thankfully they're able to get Octagon, and Octagon has more sides to him, so that should be cool. But I mean, TNA has no respect for Mexicans, so I'm going to say First Class wins that one. So there you go. That is the big rundown for Sacrifice. Looks like it's going to be sold out house, 4,000 deep. Should be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I will very likely be able to recap the show on Saturday at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be live. I'll try to make sure that it's on video. I'll do that, but I don't know what that's going to look like. So that's where we're at right now with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to TNA Impact from March 13, 2025, live from the Impact Zone at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. Well, it wasn't live, but at least not this one. It's the final stop before tomorrow's Sacrifice. So, and this show, they tried to load it up a little bit, but it was, kind of hit and miss. But we did close with a world title match. We got Hammerstone's farewell match, his last match in the company. And I got some thoughts on that match. So strap in, grab your popcorn, get a swig of coffee for the working man. It's Brace for Impact. Let's go ahead and get started. So we kick it off with Eddie Edwards, backed by Alicia and the System, facing Leon Slater in a TNA Sacrifice advantage match. The stakes: winner gets the man advantage for their team in tomorrow's 10-man steel cage main event. So with this, once they announced that stipulation, you knew that Eddie Edwards was going to win, because the baby faces can't have the advantage, or else the entire psychology of the lethal lockdown stipulation, the war game stipulation, whatever you want to call it, it gets backwards at that point, which is pretty ridiculous. Honestly, they should just all do it at the same time. But because you have the stipulation where the heels always have to have the advantage, and it kind of ruins it a little bit, because you already know what's going to happen, but then the match always still ends up being good. So like, I think WWE did it backwards and the match was fine, but it makes no sense that one team would have the advantage, like if this were sporting, but then again, it's not, it's pro wrestling. So you got to kind of check your brain at the door sometimes when you're watching this stuff, which is unfortunate. So anyway, winner gets a man advantage for their team in the 10-man steel cage match. So let's go here. I just got some notes. Edwards tried a cheap shot, but Slater flipped it with a Hurricane Rana, sending Eddie tumbling to the outside. Eddie turned it around, smashing Slater into the steel steps, shoulder first. And after some back and forth, Edwards landed the Boston Knee Party for the W. Systems got the edge tomorrow. Big win for the heels. They get the advantage. I thought this was a really good match. I liked this match. But I did feel like the crowd was a little bit exhausted. So that's tough. but still, I did really enjoy the match. But while I was watching it, I was just like, maybe back-to-back nights in the same city is not the best idea anymore, because Full Sail typically likes everything, and they were still hot for Joe Hendry in the main event, but it just seemed like at certain points the crowd was a little bit down, and I felt like they were a little bit down here. But it was still a really good match, and the crowd did get into the bigger stuff. So next, Sami Callihan was fired up, ranting into the camera about Mance Warner dodging him thanks to no physicality clause before Sacrifice. Mance and Steph DeLanda crashed the party, shoving Sami and taunting him. Sami held back, growling, "It's just one more day." The heat here, so they do got some heat, so the match should be good. And then we head to NXT's Wes Lee versus Laredo Kid. This is another one of those matches that you knew exactly who was going to win as soon as the match was announced, because TNA's got no respect for Mexicans, unless you're Chavo Guerrero, who's going to be in town this weekend. But if you're a luchador, they have no respect for you whatsoever. Wes had Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe at ringside, while Laredo Kid flew solo with his masked flare. Kid worked Wes's arm, but Wes flipped out and regrouped. Kid hit a moonsault off the apron and a crossbody for a near fall. So Laredo Kid looks so much bigger than Wesley. It was like a noticeable size difference to me in certain parts of the match. I was like, oh wow, like Laredo Kid might be on those Hammerstone supplements. It looks kind of good. He looking a little jacked there, Laredo. But Wes snarled. He's got that heel vibe locked, and then he took over with a brainbuster and finished with a cardiac kick. Post-match, the Rascals and Ace Austin vowed to send Wes packing a Sacrifice. Smoke him if you got him. So there you go. Got the big 6-man coming up. And then we go to Santino Marella. He dropped some news. Spitfire's Jody Thread and Danny Luna were griping. Ugh, this was terrible. While Ashton held Heather by elegance, plus George Iceman stirred the pot. Santino booked a 3-on-2 match at Sacrifice. He gave the heels the advantage in the match. It's like it would make sense if Lars Fredrickson were still with Spitfire to do a mixed tag match, and then Lars Fredrickson would then fight George Iceman. But now you're just giving the advantage to the heels. And I know they're very clearly blowing up this elegance thing. At least I think they are because of the schedule. But this whole thing was bad. It was unfunny. It's not good TV. And because they don't have any other tag teams, they just keep dragging and stringing it along. And I really don't think anybody wants this. I have not talked to a single person that likes this feud. And except for the people that like everything. Like, you know those guys. You know that they exist. They'll, TNA could shit in a bucket and people would say it's good, right? I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about people that are capable of critical thought. None of them think that this is any good, right? It's bad television. It's honestly like embarrassing. So we get back to the ring, knockouts action. We got Zaya Brookside took on Rosemary. Rosemary charged Zaya into the corner, but Zaya fired back with a drop kick and a kangaroo kick. MJF would approve of that, I guess. Rosemary dominated with throat slams, but Zaya rallied, hitting her finish for a 2 count. Zaya grabbed Rosemary's foreign object, hesitated, and got misted in the eyes for her trouble. DQ win for Zaya. She's screaming, but she ended up winning the match. Here's a thought. I talked about it last week, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that I think Abaddon is like a real possibility for this company. I think it actually might happen. I don't know. We'll see. And then we get next we go to a somber campfire chat with Steve Macklin and Eric Young. I think I missed this part, so I'm just going to read the recap here. Macklin said that they respect each other but walk different paths. It reminds me of the Lil Wayne song. We walk the same path but got on different shoes. I like my what was the other line? I got a small circle. I don't roll with different crews, something like that. I can't remember the full line, but no fist, just tense and foreshadowing a future clash. So yeah, it looks like we're gonna get Macklin and Eric Young eventually, maybe at Rebellion. And then JDC from the System faced Cody Daner. God, this was dead. So, they announced this match earlier this week for television, and I was like, you guys didn't need to announce this match. Like, do you want people to watch the show? And then sure enough, I get a DM from somebody like, dude, why do you watch this shit? And I'm just like, yo, man, I believe me, I do like TNA. But when they put on the Spitfire and Elegant stuff, and then they put this match on, like they tell people it's going to happen, it's like, bro, don't tell anybody. Like, if you don't advertise it, right, the people that hate on TNA, they'll never know because they're not going to watch it, right? So just still have the match. Like, you guys like Cody, who worked there a long time, right? They clearly like JDC. I think he's a producer now. So you want them to be able to get their shit in. Just don't tell anybody about it so that way we don't get to be embarrassed. But Cody did his old feel-good promo about kids and fans turning his career around, and it sucked. And JDC marked it, and sparking a "Yes, we do" chant from the crowd. JDC dared Cody to quit, but Cody asked the fans, leave or punch JDC 10 times, and they picked the punches. So cheesy. Cody got in 4 before JDC countered with a thumb to the eye and a Falcon Arrow for the win. So there you go. JDC, pushed wrestler in TNA. And then we get the Knockouts tag match. Oh, there's my cue. Knockouts tag match. We're going to pause on that. All right, I am back. That little booger is asleep again. And so when I tried to put him down, like, I think probably like 2.5 hours ago, I gave him a little bit of formula. I tried to like fatten him up before bedtime so that way he'll sleep through the night. So I loaded up this bottle of like 6 ounces, and that brother took less than 1 ounce and he passed out. I was like, oh shit. So I was like, okay, I'm probably in for a late night. He's probably going to wake up in a couple hours. And sure enough, he did. And so I was up there with 30 minutes just now, getting that guy back to sleep. Gave him a little bit more formula. I took some more, and then I rocked him asleep, and then I put him down, and he immediately woke up again. So like, oh shit. So I picked him back up and gave him a little bit more formula, rocked him, and he is out. I even did the whole, like, how back in the day, whenever somebody be in a sleeper hold, they do the arm drop like 3 times. I did the 3 arm drops, make sure the little dude was out. So he's out. But I got the baby monitor on. We are back, and we got the Knockouts tag match, which is a preview of Sacrifice. It is your typical paint by numbers impact preview match where you have 2 singles matches, so let's just throw them all in a tag match and see who wins. So we got Tessa Blanchard and Cora Jade from NXT, the Cult of No Personality, versus Masha Slamovich and Lei Ying Li. Ariana Grace joined commentary, adding some spice. Tessa pie-faced Masha, who dared Cora to step up. Lei tagged in, unloading kicks on Cora, and then it turned into a little bit of a war at that point. Lee hit Thunderstruck, but Cora smashed Masha with the belt behind the ref's back. Tessa sealed it with the buzzsaw. The heels are up on this one. Clearly, so Tessa hit the buzzsaw on Masha. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at. Masha versus Tessa at Rebellion. And I think that the Cora Jade matches and Lei Ying Li matches are just a vehicle to get to that point, which I'm completely fine with. And then we go to Tom Hannafin. He's hosting a summit with Mustafa Ali and Santana. This was fantastic. This is probably the best thing they've done all year. Legit. I thought everybody played their parts really well. Mustafa Ali's an underrated television character right now. He's really got it down pat, like this smarmy congressman. He really has it down. And Santana's that fiery, like emotional baby face. It's so emotional that's probably going to cost him some matches. You know what I mean? Because he's not being outsmarted so much as he's being manipulated by Mustafa Ali, who is just like got no redeeming qualities. It's such a good heel. So Ali was flanked by the great hands of Tasha Steelz, claimed he's TNA's needed leader, calling Santana a pressure cracker. Man, I didn't realize that Santana was a cracker. Santana fired back about his gritty past and beating the system solo. Ali taunted him as an addict, and Santana flipped it, saying, yeah, he's addicted to TNA. He's addicted to the fans. He's addicted to wrestling. Ali then pushed it too far, mentioning Santana's daughter. Santana snapped, attacking everyone. Well, what they didn't bring up in this recap here was that Ali also put a bottle of alcohol in the middle of the table and asked him to have a drink with him, which is a big no-no when you're talking to an alcoholic. And then once he brought up the daughter, that was it. Ali's crew ends up beating Santana down. So it was actually Santana beat up the Great Hands, and then he goes to turn around to beat on Ali, and Tasha Steelz kind of gets in the way, like, Miss Elizabeth did for Randy Savage back in the day. And then Ali or Santana it's like, you need to move out the way. And then he picks up Tasha and he goes to move her out of the way, and then that's when Ali capitalized, hit him from behind. This was a great segment. I think it's well worth everybody going out of the way to watch. It's one of the more effective ways to get two people over without being in a wrestling match. And I think that everybody else in the company needs to take notice. Like, this is how it's supposed to be done. These backstage segments. It was absolutely perfect. And they didn't need to do the pissing last week. They didn't need to do the piss in the coffee. That was not effective. That doesn't make people interested in seeing people wrestle. This stuff does. Reality-based storytelling. Even if they're totally making up the conflict between the two, they're using real life situations to get to that point. And guys like Ali, right? Like the character Mustafa Ali. We see them on TV every night. These smarmy, disgusting little rat congressmen on the nightly news, manipulating their voters into getting what they want. That's Ali, right? That's him. And then we also know dudes like Santana, guys that have been through some shit, that have come from nothing, and now they're here, right? And all they want is success, and they want to provide a good life for their families. He's the everyman, and Ali is every man that we hate. What a perfect feud. I know that this is going to be a sacrifice. I think Ali has to win at Sacrifice. That's what I think, because I want the feud to continue. And typically when the babyface wins first, the feud doesn't continue. So I think this is the way that it's got to be. Good stuff. Just legendary shit. And then we go to the main event. Joe Hendry came out, and he had his open challenge. Santino came out and then said, yep, I got the perfect opponent for you. And then all of a sudden, Hollywood Hunk's music hits, and then Ryan Nemeth comes out announcing that his big brother will be here tomorrow, and that his big brother gave away his automatic rematch to his little brother, and he was accepting it. So Ryan Nemeth answered the challenge, but he went in and then immediately got hit with a standing ovation, and that was it, easy peasy. And then Santino apologized, saying that wasn't the plan, and asked Hendry if he wanted another match. And then out comes Hammerstone, just completely jacked for his last match. And then Hendry started showing. These guys actually had a really good match, I thought. Crowd was into this too. I mean, Hammerstone just looks like such a fucking monster out there. He's incredible. Hendry started strong, but Hammerstone sent him into the post and dominated through the break. Hendry rallied with the stalled suplex, a follow-away slam, a we will rock you stomp. Hammerstone hit a German suplex and a powerbomb, locking in a Boston Crab. Hendry escaped, then nailed the standing ovation and retained. This match just reinforced my belief that Hammerstone should be in this company still. Joe Hendry doesn't have a lot of opponents that he can work with. And so far, in my opinion, two of his best matches, I would say, I thought the Genesis match was good. I thought, although they didn't do much, but I think that they did what they needed to do to get their match over, him and Nemeth. His best match was with Josh Alexander, I think, by far. That's what I would go with his best match. But the other two matches that I think that he's had that are really good are Jake Something and Hammerstone. He works really well off of powerhouse heels. Now, Jake wasn't quite a heel just yet during their first match. They wrestled in Philadelphia last year, but he essentially became a heel in that match because the crowd turned him heel. And so I think Jake and Hammerstone are two really good opponents for him. And that makes sense because I thought John Cena always worked really well with big muscular guys too. Guys that can make him look small and make him look like an underneath babyface. That's what Joe Henry is doing that right now with Hammerstone and Jake. I thought they worked well with him. And then those guys can do all the moves too. Right. So they're not just these two big powerhouses. They're fucking athletic monsters. Right. And Hammerstone just got such a unique look to him. Like, there's not a lot of Hammerstones out there. There's a million fucking little leg slapping baby faces out there, right? There's, like every company has like 6 Adam Coles, right? Not quite Adam Cole's charisma, but you know what I mean, like the body type and the way they do the matches. There's not a lot of Hammerstones anymore. Like, they're few and far between. And so the fact that they had one and they never really got behind him, they never really pushed him. And I know he missed some time, and I get it. There's a ton, probably a million excuses out there. But it's just a disappointment the way his run ended. And I hope he gets another shot. If I were Billy Corgan, I'd call him up right now and make him NWA champion ASAP. I get the feeling that he's going to have a shot with MLW. If there's a medical concern there, I don't think WWE takes him. Maybe some of his medical history would probably prevent them from bringing him in. But if I'm MLW or Billy Corgan, I'm like, fuck, you're my world champion. Come back. All right, come on in. Right? Like, I would do that immediately. So, I don't know, just a waste of a year, I thought. But then afterwards, the System and the Colognes jumped Hendry, but the Hardy Boys, Leon Slater and Elijah, ran out for the chaotic brawl. And then Tom Hannafin called it Carnage at Sacrifice. There you go. So he was screaming as the show ended. They actually did go to Twitter and they had like bonus coverage of it, but it was just, nothing really anybody needs to go out of the way to see. But I did think it was an effective go-home show. I thought Joe Hendry had another good world title match. His matches are hit or miss, for real. When he's in there with the right opponent, he has really good matches, and I thought this was one of them. I really did enjoy it. But as you guys can tell, I'm clearly, I am a Hammerstone fan. All right, let's get to some bonus content. There wasn't a ton of TNA news to talk about this week. Hopefully there will be more coming out of Sacrifice. I should have like a full-blown Sacrifice show, and hopefully I can do it live. I just don't know what my schedule is going to look like, but there will be a Sacrifice show. So I did want to talk a little bit of, I got some Fed talk, some AEW talk. I watched some NXT this week. I watched all of Dynamite. I watched a little bit of Raw. So let's get to some bonus wrestling stuff. So Monday on Raw, we had CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a steel cage match. False finish, of course, near falls galore. Endgame Roman Reigns popped up and dragged Seth out of the cage for the win and then obliterated him outside, complete with Roman's own curb stomp. Roman wasn't outdone. He stormed the cage and tossed Punk into the steel and speared him while Paul Heyman looked horrified. Roman posed to close it out. So they're setting up a big three-way there between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, and I think that's just a giant mistake. like no one's ever said my dream match is, and then featured 3 guys. That isn't it. I think Roman versus Punk is the move, and I know they have to protect Seth Rollins' feelings a little bit because he works really hard, and he's been a guy there. But I think at some point, like you got to stand on business, right? It's like, no, dude, no one wants you in that match. So, like, we like you. You're a great wrestler, but you're not in the like Roman versus Punk is the money, right? Punk, say what you want about Punk. He's been there over a year now, like actually coming up on a year and a half. And he's like in their top 5 stars. Legit. He is. He's great. And I thought this match was really good. I didn't really care for the finish. I don't like the escape the cage rules. I think that's lazy. And I don't like cage matches that don't have blood. I think that's stupid. It's wussy shit. Especially the night before we had that fucking gory, bloody match between Fletcher and Ospreay, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I did think it was a good match. WWE likes to, in their main event matches, they get to a certain point in the match, like halfway through, and then the second half of the match is them just trading finishers and kicking out. So it was kind of a formulaic And I've had similar criticisms to other matches too, in other companies, where it's like kickouts galore, where they just never end. And not that these were never ending, but it was so like, okay, I'm gonna give you two of my finishers, and then I'm gonna do your finisher on you a couple of times, and you're gonna kick out, and then eventually, then you can do it to me, and then we're just not gonna have a finish at all because Roman Reigns is gonna pull Seth out, and then that's how we get CM Punk to lose to Seth without him actually losing, and to set up the three-way match, a three-way that I just don't think anybody wants to see. Not that it's not going to be good; it's probably going to be pretty good considering everybody that's involved. I just don't think it's that interesting. So you contrast that with Sunday's AEW Revolution cage match, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. It was a bloody war. Ospreay won with a Tiger Driver 91 after a savage back and forth. They started atop the cage, trading shots. Fletcher drew first blood, licking it off the steel. Mark Davis cut the lock and handed Fletcher. So both matches had interference. That was the one thing. I'm going to get to my tweet in a minute, but some people were saying, oh, well, AEW's is better because they didn't have interference. No, Mark Davis interfered. He cut the lock. It was stupid. The referees just should have stopped it, but they didn't. Ospreay turned it around, raking barbed wire bat across Fletcher's face. Fletcher fought back with a screwdriver and tacks, but Ospreay's styles clashed on the tacks and a Spanish fly off the top of the cage, followed by the elbow, the hidden blade. So WWE's match was story-driven, and it was more heated, I would say, because of the people that were involved. Like, Seth and CM Punk are two megastars, specifically CM Punk in Madison Square Garden. So that match just had a ton of heat, and it was just a vehicle to get to the WrestleMania match, while this was just a bloody, gory, old school style cage match that had the new style twist with all the move after move after move, and the Spanish fly off the cage. And I would say the Ospreay match was more spectacular and had blood, so that's what I preferred. CM Punk was just all about star power and story, and then it had a fuck finish, and and people went crazy for the Roman Reigns thing. Like, that was good TV. I get it. They're doing two different things. They're accomplishing two different things. Ospreay and Fletcher was a blow. They blew that feud off, right? That was the end of that feud. The Punk and Rollins match was designed to keep their feud going, to become a vehicle to the WrestleMania match and add Roman Reigns to the mix. So they were trying to accomplish two different things. Ospreay and Fletcher were trying to have a classic match to blow off a long-term feud because they've been going at it for a while. They've had several good matches. And we already know what the Punk Seth Rollins one was. So, yeah, on Monday, I tweeted out, and I knew it was going to be bully, but I tweeted out a poll, like, who is going to be the first one to say that the Punk match was better than the Ospreay match, in a pre-written tweet that gets released immediately as soon as that match is over. And I listed out Bulky Ray, Eric Bischoff, Drunk Raj Giri, and Justin LaBar, right? Because those are typically the types. Like, they can't say anything good about WWE without taking shots at AEW. And now, some may counter this by saying, well, AEW fans do it too. I get it. They do. They're not as high profile as the people that I'm talking about, specifically Bully Ray and Eric Bischoff. But yes, they do. Yeah, it's tribalism. It's tribalism 101. And was what I was doing tribalistic? Yes. I was entertaining myself. Because I just knew that it was going to happen. I did. Because people are just kind of locked into their tribes, and no matter what the other side does, it can't be good. Your side's always better, right? It's Democrats and Republicans. It's bullshit. None of these people work for the fans anyway. None of them work for the companies. But with Bully Ray specifically, he works for WWE. He's on the payroll. He's not only has he got a Legends contract, he's on LFG show, and he does Busted Open from the studios there in Orlando. And so he could say, and what his tweet said, he didn't mention AEW, but he was insinuating that, like, especially like, that's what a cage match is supposed to be. He was taking shots at the cage match from the night before that everybody was raving about. And he's doing it for attention, right? And he's doing it to score points with the Fed. So I called it out, and I got like 1,000 retweets. So the tweet blew up, and I'm proud of that. So I was shit posting, and it was successful. It was an engagement post that was like super successful. So it totally worked. I was entertaining myself because I knew exactly what was going to happen, and nailed it. So you know what? Kudos to me for nailing it. But I thought both matches were good in their own way, and they both accomplished what they needed to accomplish. So kudos to everybody involved. I love cage matches. We got a cage match coming up tomorrow night in Sacrifice. So there you go. So 3 cage matches this week. I'm excited about it. Tuesday's NXT Roadblock at Madison Square Garden Theater was stacked. It's probably the best episode of NXT that I've ever seen. I did miss a little bit of it, but I watched most of it. But I got to check out my TNA people when they're on that show. Hardy Boys retain the TNA World Tag Team titles over Fraxium with the Jeff Swanton Bomb. Clean finish. Just 100% clean. I know that there was a little bit of a miscommunication between Fraxium, but there was no like cheating, outside interference, no nothing like that. It was not a fluke. It was like a legit. TNA took their titles. TNA Tag Team Champions defeated the NXT Tag Team Champions. Now the haters aren't talking about that. It's so weird. They talked about how the ratings weren't they were still good, but they weren't as impressive as people thought. That's what they want to talk about. But they're not talking about the fact that the TNA Tag Team Champions went over there and retained their titles against the NXT Tag Team Champions. That's weird. I wonder why no one's talking about that. Huh. Is TNA still being taken advantage of? I don't know. You tell me. Speaking of being taken advantage of, Jordan Grace from TNA no longer works for TNA. He's in NXT now. Defeated Roxanne Perez. I wanted to say that the Hardys and Fraxi match was excellent, by the way. Excellent. Grace defeats Roxanne Perez with the Juggernaut Driver. I thought this was pretty good. My match of the week, I thought starting on Monday, this doesn't beat the Revolution matches, but starting on Monday, my match of the week so far, to include tonight's Impact, and I've watched a lot of wrestling. I watched all of Dynamite. Obafemi kept the NXT title, dropping Moose, the TNA X Division champion, with the fall from Grace. So another clean finish. We're in a match where both guys got over. I think Moose made himself a lot of money. He's on a long-term deal with TNA, so I don't think he's going anywhere. And he's also in his early 40s. But if he was available, I think WWE would take him because, he's got that DEV rest in his past, but there were 4,000 people in Madison Square Garden, and everybody treated him like he was a megastar. And he looked like a megastar. The guy's got aura. And he worked with Obafemi and made Obafemi look like $1 million. I think Moose earned himself a ton of money tonight. Should he hit free agency within the next year, he's going to get a lot of money from WWE because, wait, this guy can do that? That's what this guy's capable of? I'm like, well, guys, I've been telling you this for years. Moose is fantastic. He went in there with a green guy, a green super heavyweight, and worked his ass off. Worked his fucking ass off to make that man look like $1 billion. And he did just that. What an amazing match. Amazing performance by Moose. And Obafemi, for his part, looked good, too. Obafemi, going to be world heavyweight champion one day. But, man, I just all the credit in the world to Moose. They did all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to do blow by blow because I already just did that for the TNA stuff. So, Obafemi defeated Moose. I just want to talk about that. Javon Evans had a great match with Ethan Page in a street fight. But then they got jumped by Deion Lennox, Color James, Saquon Sugars, and Osiris Grifton afterwards. And then another really good match. Stephanie Vickerd unified the NXT Women's Champion and North American titles, pinning Julia with a package backbreaker. And Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe also brawled. So there you go. They think they're having a match next week, I think, in NXT Underground. So there you go. But I thought this week's NXT was insane. I typically don't watch NXT. It's always really bad. But the TNA matches were on there, and I'm a TNA podcaster, so I had to watch it. So there you go. And I'm actually glad that I did because I thought it was really good. And then last night's AEW Dynamite on TBS, I thought was a bit of a stinker. So I did not think this was good. I feel like the entire roster was a bit worn down. It seemed like they were shorthanded too. But I did like one part specifically, and I think you guys are going to understand exactly what that is when I get to that point. But Omega opened. He hyped his international title reign in the new tournament, and then Shibata stared him down, and then the Ops Joe, Hook, and Shibata smashed some jobbers. So there you go. And then Powerhouse Hobbs and Hologram beat Brian Cage and Drolistico. Harley Cameron was with Hologram as Harley Graham. I don't like that. I think that Harley Cameron should be in the mix for the world title. I think she's that good. I do like her doing some of her comedy, and I don't mind mixing in some of the luchador stuff, but I just thought this was a poor use of Harley. I think she's a bigger star than Hologram. Hologram is a guy who's never lost, and he's also never gotten over. Good wrestler, though. But the next up, we get the debut of Speedball Mike Bailey, my guy. I love this guy. He defeated the Beast Mortos in the tourney, the international tournament. And this match was fantastic. Fresno didn't really care for him, but I thought they got into the match after a while. It was really good though. I dug it. And Konos did Takeshita squash Max Caster after some trash talk. Willow Nightingale defeated Penelope Ford. Megan Bain attacked both her and Chris Statlander post-match. MJF and MVP had a tense promo showdown, which I thought was really good. Max took a Hurt Syndicate card, so they told a good story there. Will Ospreay, in one of the weirdest interviews I've ever fucking heard, announced he's entering the Owen Hart Cup. It took him like 10 minutes to get to the point, though. And then he did the whole sign pointing thing. So AEW is doing the WrestleMania sign, but it's all in Texas. So looks like Ospreay is probably going to win the Owen Hart Cup. Look, if they're holding off, if Darby's out of the picture, put the belt on Ospreay. Just fucking stop wasting time. Okay. We also had, I thought, a really effective promo by Tony Storm, kind of laying down the challenge to all comers. And then Megan Bain attacked her, and one of the knocks on Megan Bain is, she looks amazing. She's a beast. She got no charisma. So we'll see if Tony Storm can carry a feud into Dynasty. But I just didn't. And then the main event was weird. It was Orange Cassidy and Hechicero. I'm surprised that their ratings weren't worse than what they were. They actually held up pretty nicely. But I just couldn't believe that Orange and Hechicero were the main event. And I like both those guys. But it was just kind of a nothing main event. Not really much to the match either. It was like an okay match, but nothing to it. But yeah, that was Dynamite, man. Dynamite was probably the worst episode of TV I watched this week. So coming off that Hot Revolution show. But I think that's going to do it, man. I don't really have any other news. I think that's a wrap. So we're primed for Sacrifice. Got a lot of stuff happening in the world of pro wrestling. I think we'll get some news to talk about over the weekend. Dave Meltzer should have some news, and we'll see what else is going on. But I'll watch Sacrifice tomorrow at some point, and I'll try to get the recording out on Saturday. I'll do my best to get to do a live episode, but I can't if the kid is going to take my office. So that might prevent me from doing a live episode, but I prefer live. I know you guys do too. So I will make sure I try to do as many live episodes as I can. But the Mike and JD show is still staying live because I do that at a reasonable time where the kid's not in the office, but the other shows I have to do while people are sleeping. Right. So I'm not taking too much time away from the family. But all right, guys, that is going to do it for me this time on Brace for Impact. Stay tuned for the next episode coming up this weekend. And until next time, mahalo. Brace for Impact is coming.